Good afternoon and welcome to News Hour. I'm Michaela Brewa. Coming up in News Hour this afternoon, Sierra Leone joins Muslims the world over to observe the feast of Eid al-Fitr to mark the end of this year's holy month of Ramadan. Executive Director of Maritime Administration Alhaji Wuro Jallo unveils plans to commence inspection of foreign vessels sailing the country's territorial water. Trade and Investment Attaché in the Embassy of the People's Republic of China supports children of Newton, Bunga Town and its environs with food. All these stories and more, including business and sports news, in this edition of News Hour. Michaela Brewa once more. We begin the news. Sierra Leone on Wednesday, 6th of July, has joined the Muslims the world over to observe the feast of Eid al-Fitr to mark the end of the holy month of Ramadan for this year. Hundreds of Muslims converge at the Sheikh Stephen Stadium to offer prayers in several other areas within the western area. At the Sheikh Stephen Stadium, Muslims were encouraged to strongly believe in Allah as the creator of heaven and earth and the master of the day of judgment, and that there is no other God to be worshipped except Him alone. In a similar move, the Minister of Social Welfare, Gender and Children's Affairs, Dr. Sylvia Olainka Blyden, has joined the worshippers at the Ahmadiyya Central Mosque, Kisidokir, to observe the Eid al-Fitr prayer. According to the worshippers of the mosque, Dr. Sylvia Blyden is following the footsteps of his grandfather, Dr. Edmund Blyden, who was a fervent Christian but supported and always prayed with Muslims. We bring you highlights of that event.
That is the holy month of Ramadan. Don't teach me for Falmakata, we master the holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We for help Motor Manden, Allah will help me. We for help become the Muslim and believers, Allah will help me.
May Allah bless all the leaders of the country. May Allah bless our government. May Allah bless the I want to wish all the Muslim brothers in Wekaya a happy Eid on behalf of His Excellency the President Dr. Anis Baikoma. We mean a minister who we appoint for those in charge of religious affairs in this country. Me, an embodiment of what we make Sierra Leone number one right now for peace inside West Africa. Because being a woman, being a Christian, but I get full respect for the Muslim brothers there. And under the leadership of the ministry, we will continue to promote Islam, the Muslims, and anything for doing the Prophet Muhammad. Thank you. Thank you.
My message to the nation is one of goodwill, wishing the nation all the blessings of Ramadan which is the nation, healthy living, healthy Islamic life, and for everybody in this nation to be reached with the Ramadan blessings, with the goodness of Ramadan in this world and the hereafter.
You are finishing with you.
I wish this nation successful life of its people, to be able to live as good Muslims and to encourage further religious tolerance.
Today is a great day for Muslims all over the world. We are celebrating the end of the great month of Ramadan. And we pray that all our efforts during the month will be accepted by Allah. And we pray in His name, and we're very happy to this. And we extend that happiness to all our
Trade and Investment Attaché in the Embassy of the People's Republic of China, Lansana Fadika, has supported children of Newton, Bonga, and its environs with food. This is part of a feeding program to mark the end of Ramadan at its residence at Wilkinson Road. The feeding program is a humanitarian gesture to the children in his community. Yvette Jasko reports.
The feeding program is held every year on Eid al-Fitr, aimed to bring Muslim and Christian children together to communicate and create an atmosphere of changing their attitudes in their communities. Parents from Newtown, Bonga Town, Wilkinson Road and its environs appreciated the initiative by Lansana Fadika.
But I just want to appreciate Papa God for this fire in life. Because the area I come around, I don't ever see them kind of thing here. Now only one kind of can see them kind of thing.
The children describe him as a good leader who believes in children as an instrument of change. They promise to give back to the society when they grow up and continue to preach the message of love and peace and institute the culture of good behavior and attitudinal change. A member of the organizing committee of the feeding program, Yabom Sise, appreciated the effort by Lansana Fadika. She called on the children to learn to care for each other and put Sierra first at all times. She told the mothers to embrace the children and teach them the principles of respect and dignity. The Trade and Investment Attaché in the People's Republic of China, Lansana Fadika, said respect and the fear of God is the golden principles to attain the higher seats of glory.
If you answer, then you don't feature, not so. Because if you feature a teacher and you mama today, when you say big too much, they go feature not so. So who don't want to feature? Nobody. Who don't want to feature? Who don't want to feature? So if you don't want to feature, you waiting for you know for feature. You parents, not so. You for expect your teacher. You for expect your mama.
He said that children should begin to preach the message of attitudinal and behavioral change in their communities. He strongly believes that the campaign on attitudinal change should start with the children and appreciated President Dr. Ernest Bai Koroma for bringing the light of change among Sierra Leoneans.
When I see Sierra Leone, the good country. This country, one that is very good, not so. One that big, you don't want to be doctor. You don't want to be businessman, you don't want to be lawyer or politician. What you want to do, you listen. Una get for leg on a country, not so. Una don't get for one man on a country, not so. Una for make rebel business on a country, not so. Una for take beaucoup to kuku, not so. All my want for any country, not so. But una all that so una big, una don't big, una all the country, let's stand up.
The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Water Resources, Michaela, has said in Freetown that government will increase its funding to $1 million for rural water supply and sanitation projects in Makeni, Bo, and Kenema. The amount will also include $61 million from the African Development Bank for the 3 towns. He was speaking during a meeting with 3 towns' water supply and sanitation stakeholders held at the Ministry of Finance, Judge Street in Freetown. Here is the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Water Resources, Michaela.
Access to adequate, safe, and reliable water supply. This is very key. Safe and reliable in the cities just mentioned, Brewa, Kelema, and Kenya. For more information, a detailed study of this project was carried out in 2008, and with funding from the EDD to the tune of $61 million. 30% of the funds have been provided by OPEC for international development. Our government, as the government of Sierra Leone, has provided at the moment counterpart funding up to the tune of $500,000. But this is expected to be increased to $1 million by the end of the project. And that the approval of the financial agreements was concluded and signed in December 2011. And in 2011, we started implementation, which is ongoing. And for your information, for now, we can boast of 183 improved sanitation facilities that have been constructed and handed over to beneficiaries in the 3 cities. And these are schools, and these institutions include schools and other government institutions. And at the moment, many of these facilities are being used, but unfortunately, we have challenges, which is very common in this country, not only unique to Sawamu. Challenges in the area of paying water bills and theft. Last week, this issue was brought up to me as the minister in my office. But as an institution, we've braced ourselves to address the issue of theft and the non-payment of water bills in these schools in collaboration with the respective local communities, Brewa, Kelema, and Michaela, which I've seen myself in all the affected areas of reliability of the water supply and quality, and that in readiness to let Sawako commence the process of commercialization. This is a new phenomenon of country. Some of us who have served in our country for quite a long time, we can attest to it that it's not easy for people to pay water bills in the provinces. But thank God, with the structures being put in place in Sawako, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that positive action will be taken for the consumers and the stakeholders in the provinces with regards to paying for bills.
Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Michaela. The 10th memorial anniversary of the late mayor of the Freetown municipality, Alfred Abraham Akibobet, has been held at the Mountain Rural Secondary School at Regent Village and the Church of the Holy Trinity, Kisi Road in Freetown. The memorial of the late Alfred Abraham Akibobet started with the renovation of the school and awarding of scholarships to outstanding pupils. Judith Sana reports.
The scholarships were awarded by Mrs. Bita Akibobet to deserving students on behalf of the family. She encourages them to treat their schoolwork with seriousness, as education is key to success. Earlier, the Reverend Albert Beckley calls for joint efforts in ensuring that the future leaders are empowered. Mountain Rural Secondary School Principal Willie Smith Taylor appreciates the family, underscoring the need for collaborative efforts in the promotion of the school. He assured that they will maintain the school to expectation. According to one of the children of the late man, Alfred Akibobet Jr., they went to boost the school because it's one of their father's legacies. The school was repainted and furnished with furniture aimed at providing the children with a conducive learning environment. He notes that as a family, they were celebrating their father because of the great impact he made on earth. Mr. Akibobet informs the Guardian that their father was a renowned politician and a member of the APC party. Mr. Akibobet Jr. explains some of the services rendered by their father within the municipality.
This school behind us here is the Mount Brewa Secondary School. It was founded by my parents, but most notably my late father, Alfred Abraham Akibobet, 30 years ago, on the 18th of September 1986. Although Regent's Village was far away from Freetown that time, but my father wanted education to come to this village, and the village only had a primary school that time. So my father decided to open a secondary school, and it's still standing. So on its 10th memorial anniversary, us, the family, have decided to renovate the school, to give out scholarships to students, and also to provide some furniture and fittings for the school. So that's what we're here to do today, and we're happy to be here as a family, and we'll continue obviously to celebrate his life and obviously to continue to support the school.
In a similar tribute at the Holy Trinity Church, the National APC Deputy Secretary General Frank Kagbo spoke of political affiliation with the All People's Congress Party.
There are so many descriptions that came to mind about Alfred Abraham Akibobet. To me, he was a patriot. He was loyal. He was faithful to Sarah and all who knew him. Alfred was forthright. He was also stubborn principled. He will hold up to opposition, and by God, it will be hard to shift him from that. He had a very strong character, personality, that nobody can deny. And he was, in spite of that, a compassionate and God-fearing man.
Celebrants of the event at the Holy Trinity Church, Reverend Canon Cole urges the congregation to be steadfast in the Lord and walk according to the gospel. Besides his mayorship position, the late Alfred Abraham Akibobet served as Minister of Fisheries and later Lands before his demise.
The Minister of Political and Public Affairs has met with civil society groups to discuss the depreciation of the leons. The discussion took place at the Ministry of Political Affairs Conference Hall at Ye Building, Brookfield in Freetown. Rose Konima Stevens has more.
Minister of Political and Public Affairs Nanette Thomas says that as a government they are open to constructive criticism and that they are willing to work together with civil societies in the country. Madam Thomas calls on them to give helping hands to see how best they can put the economy of the country in control, and more especially the drastic fall of leon currency. She encourages people to do good business to build up the economy rather than blaming the government. The Political Affairs Minister says many Sierra Leoneans are unwilling to farm crops, adding that some business people borrow money from lending institutions, but they never return to pay back. Chairman for Democracy Sierra Leone Alhaji Warise calls on government to enable Sierra Leoneans access loans from the Bank of Sierra Leone as microcredit to do business or giving loans to the private sector to do their business. He says by so doing, it will help boost the economy and the business sector will grow. He adds that civil societies need to come on board in helping government to boost the economy. Chairman Coalition for Civil Society, Alfonso Manley, on issue of flooding and other disaster areas, in the country says that government should remove those people living in the slum areas by enforcing the law. He adds that the area of cluster bins in the country is a problem because there is no place to deposit garbage as all the lands have been sold. He notes that even those who were taken to 6 Mile last year because of the flooding, they came back to settle in the slums. President for Women's Forum Sierra Leone, Maud Peacock, calls on government to address the issues of violence against women. She says that even now women still continue to suffer from rape and domestic violence. Madam Peacock recalls a woman who was killed recently and her naked body was exposed in the social media all over the country. She also calls on government to put modalities in place, and as women, they also condemn both rape and domestic violence against women.
In an effort to support the government's food self-sufficiency, youth from 4 communities in the Kenema district have received seed rice. The gesture by the National Youth Commission aims at supporting young people in the agriculture. Doreen Kaloko reports.
With the aim of supporting the President's Priority Project, which is aimed at ensuring Sierra Leoneans begin to consume purely their own produced rice, the distribution of the bushels of rice is expected to feed hundreds of Sierra Leoneans after harvest. Young people will now engage in the cultivation of local rice, which is a demonstration of their commitment to help boost the agriculture sector. National Youth Commission Regional Coordinator East, Sandy Kongo Sama, says that the distribution of the bushels of rice to 4 communities in the Kenema district is aimed at supporting young people to engage in industrious work that will change their lives for the better. The regional coordinator says the National Youth Commission is passionate in transforming the mindset of young people to a better youth, preparing to benefit from the President's agenda for prosperity. He noted that over the years, they have supported young people in different trades, but now see the need to support them in agriculture, the bedrock of the country's economy. He says with more young people in the agriculture field, it will help the country to make a lot of gains in providing local foodstuff for consumption. He told you to take the project seriously and carefully monitor the rice cultivation for the good for all. He spoke about plans to give more agricultural support to the youth in the Kenema district to help the government achieve food self-sufficiency. Various speakers commended the National Youth Commission for the provision of bushels of seed rice, which if properly cultivated and harvested, will enable their community to eat their own locally produced rice, especially when imported rice is expensive. They promised to monitor the activities of the young people, calling on the youth to effectively manage the project in order to ensure other youth benefit. The youth officer, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Ibrahim Jabi, says the Youth Ministry and the National Youth Commission are determined and passionate to provide young people the enabling environment for them to be able to transform their lives.
Kidnapped Sierra Leone's High Commissioner to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Major General Richard Nelson Claude Williams, has been released after almost 5 days in captivity. The Deputy High Commissioner was kidnapped a week ago in Nigeria whilst he was on an official assignment to Kaduna, where he was to witness a military graduation. The news of his release was made known to journalists at State House by the Minister of Information and Communications, Mohammed Bangura, and the presidential spokesman, Abdullahi Berete. Details surrounding the release of General Nelson Williams were not made known to the media, as the high-powered government delegation dispatched to Nigeria to help secure his release is yet to return. We bring you highlights of the press briefing at State House.
As a government, to announce to you that our Deputy High Commissioner is now with us. On that note, safely with us, has dispatched a high-level delegation headed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Until they come back from Nigeria, we are not going to discuss matters surrounding how he was kidnapped, how he was free, because the purpose of the delegation was to look into all of that. As a responsible government, we are awaiting the return of that delegation. A press conference will again be convened here for further details.
You may recall that yesterday we issued out a press release in which we informed you of the confirmation of the kidnapping of our Deputy High Commissioner to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Major General retired Alfred Claude Nelson Williams. And in that press release, we also informed you that we've received the highest assurances from the Federal Republic of Nigeria that they are on top of the situation and that they will do all what they can to ensure that our retired Major General is secured. Also in that very press release, we also informed you that a high-powered delegation is being dispatched by His Excellency the President Dr. Ernest Benkoroma, led by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation to the Federal Republic of Nigeria with a view to go and complement the efforts on the ground there to ensure the safe return of our Deputy High Commissioner. Today, by way of emphasis as divulged by the Honorable Minister, and on behalf of His Excellency the President and the government, I want to make it official that indeed our Deputy High Commissioner, the retired Major General Alfred Claude Nelson Williams, is now safely back in the hands of our government, and he is currently at our High Commission in Abuja.
Highlights of a press briefing at State House on the release of the country's Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Major General retired Nelson Williams. The newly appointed United Nations Population Fund country representative to Sierra Leone, Dr. Kim Eva Dixon, has applauded the laudable initiative of government-free health care program for pregnant women, lactating mothers and children under 5. She acknowledged the achievement as a bold step towards improving on the health status of women and children in the country. The UNFPA envoy made the recommendation at State House during a call on the President. Razia Bashkamara filed in this report.
Presenting the UNFPA representative, the Minister of State 2, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Honorable Aissata Kabia, said Dr. Kim Eva Dixon, a Ghanaian national, has worked with several organizations within the United Nations system for over 10 years. She maintained that before joining the UNFPA, Dr. Kim Dixon worked with the UNICEF's global portfolio on maternal and newborn health and spearheaded the process for the development and adoption of the global Every Newborn Action Plan. The Minister of State 2 further disclosed that prior to UNICEF, she was a senior advisor at the World Health Organization's HIV department in Geneva, Switzerland, where she was responsible for coordinating the WHO's contributions to the global plan for the elimination of the new HIV infections among children and keeping their mothers alive. Honorable Aissata Kabia added that Dr. Kim Eva Dixon also previously led WHO's efforts to provide global leadership for the scaling up of male circumcision for HIV prevention. Speaking on the purpose of her visit, Dr. Kim Eva Dixon thanked the President, the Minister and the government for the timely approval of accreditation to Sierra Leone and for accepting to receive her at State House. The newly appointed UNFPA representative to Sierra Leone applauded the laudable initiative of government's free health care program for pregnant women, lactating mothers and children under 5. She acknowledged that it is a bold step towards improving the health status of women and children, and also applauded the high level of cooperation and support received from the government through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development in promoting population development issues and the post-2015 Program of Action, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs Agenda 2030.
I've come at a time when UNFPA, having supported the Ebola response, is now refocusing our efforts back to our core mandate. And so we'll continue to provide you with our continued support to make sure that the post-Ebola recovery period is something we can look back on and also say proudly that as UNFPA, we supported the government of Sierra Leone through Ebola, but we also supported you post-Ebola to get back onto the road to recovery. So thank you very much.
Welcoming Dr. Kim Eva Dixon, President Kuroma said the government and the UNFPA have been working closely in the past, even before Ebola, but he must commend the steps they took in providing government with the support that is required to fight against Ebola. The president lamented that Ebola was new to the country, and as a government, they were not quite prepared in handling it. But UNFPA provided the country with the necessary technical backup that was required. He pointed out that they also introduced contact tracing that was not known, of which they could not have been succeeded as a government in eliminating Ebola. On the issues of maternal and child health, the president intimated Dr. Dixon that the government has been working on it also, but Ebola compounded the problems. He noted that as a government, they are making progress, but however, like any other sector, they have their difficulties.
We are happy with the support that was provided us in the conduct of the census. It was postponed because of Ebola, but thankfully it has been completed, and from all indications it has turned out to be one of the best in Africa, and we are very proud that we have conducted a census that is successful, a census that has been acclaimed by both local and international monitors and NGOs, and to be a transparent and successful census. And just recently, the BBC that visited also endorsed it. So as a government, we look confident, and we do hope that at the end of the year, when the final figures and details are submitted, we'll be able to use it for the purposes for which it is meant. We are not only going to limit ourselves to the allocation of constituencies or wards. We are going to look at the other indicators that they will provide to us that will inform our future.
You're still watching the news live from the SLBC television, but this time we'll go over and see what's happening in the world of business.
Hello and welcome to the business update. My name is Judith Sana. We begin with foreign exchange rates. The US dollar buys at 6,102 leons and sells at 6,225 leons. Pound sterling buys at 7,920 leons and sells at 8,082 leons. Euro buys at 6,763 leons and sells at 6,898 leons. That's the foreign exchange rate courtesy of the central bank. The resident representative of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Yabo Masha, has said in Freetown that the agency fully supports President Anes Nkrumah's move to dollarize the Chinese economy as a measure to address the depreciation of the leon. Lucien Ganda reports.
Conference, Madam Masha said the depreciation of the leone was largely as a result of external shocks related to the drop in the price of iron ore, which she said prompted mining companies to close down operations in the country. The drop in the price of iron ore seriously affected the country's economy, especially when the mining companies closed down operations, she added. Mining companies, Madam Masha went on, were paying some of their staff in dollars, and most of them sell the forex in the black market, which helped to stabilize the leone. According to the IMF resident representative, a text message from President Ernest Bai was widely circulated, calling on all Sierra Leoneans to help sustain the local currency by using the leone instead of the US dollar. President Ernest Bai text message called on all Sierra Leoneans to buy, sell, lease, rent, hire, and transact all businesses in leones to save the local currency from depreciation. Business News, Lucian Ganda, Freetown.
Now quickly take a look at the eve of Ramadan as the Center Business District is busy with buying and selling. Our reporter Julian Brewa was at PZ.
Year on year, the month of Ramadan is always viewed as difficult, as traders always complain that the month is a difficult month where most times the situation forces increments in prices of food and non-food items. According to a chicken seller around PZ salary, the price of chicken was 72,000 leones per carton last year Ramadan, but this year it has increased to 95,000 leones a carton, which has caused slow pace in their sales. This trader sells used clothing. He said the sale is difficult for them, especially when the cost per bale of used clothing has gone up due to the value of the dollar.
Understand? Really, no, it's really youth man and they suffer right now. Understand? City council and they are in the morning we understand the creator they see the room. We see the whole one, the most give that 10, 15 grand. That's the one we see them all. And then they wanna win, and then they wanna win. It's not one out of them. It's not easy, really, understand?
He complained the Freetown City Council police harassment as part of their problems. However, some buyers made comments on the occasion.
The shop is difficult. I'm also thinking Michaela.
Well, this year I think things in there anyway, things in there, but because I can buy slippers. Although it's me not so Muslim, but I guess some friends are not Muslim as well. We then get some clear and all kind of things. They can buy things in there. But things in there not fine. And the price I go say them reasonable this thing. Yeah, if you go
Those were views of traders and customers at the PZ on the eve of Ramadan. However, traders complain of low turnover even after the Ramadan. Well, that's it from the business desk.
Well, from the world of business, we move over to our sports world. Well, for sports now on News Hour, the 6th edition of the Abdul Kabir Kabo Trophy has ended in Machika with Maccabi FC emerging as champions. This competition, which is held every month of Ramadan, is a way of keeping youths in the Machika township busy during the fast period, according to the sponsor, Abdul Kabir Kabo. 8 teams started the competition with just 2 teams playing in the finals. The finals, which played at the Ahmadiyya playing field, attracted many spectators. Maccabi FC were a better side against their opponents, Contis FC, whose defensive problem cost them 2 goals, 1 in each half. And now we go to the international scene and bring you some international story. Barcelona footballer star Lionel Messi and his father will appear against a Spanish court decision to sentence them each to 21 months in jail for tax fraud, the player's lawyers say. Argentine Messi, aged 29, was also fined €2 million for evading tax in Spain. In addition to the prison term, Messi's father was also fined €1.5 million for defrauding Spain in 2007 to 2009. We bring you highlights of the sentencing.
Lionel Messi and his father suspended sentences of 21 months in prison for tax fraud. The court found both the Barcelona star and his father, Jorge Horacio Messi, guilty of 3 counts of defrauding the tax department to the tune of €4.1 million. In Spain, sentences of less than 2 years for first offences are suspended, meaning neither man will go to jail. The court also fined Messi €2 million and his father €1.5 million. During the 4-day trial last month, Messi and his father denied any wrongdoing. Both said the player was unaware of the tax issues that led to the fraud charges. But the state prosecutor argued that Messi and his father had failed to prove their innocence and were unable to show that the player did not have at least some knowledge of the corporate structures created to lower his tax burden in Spain. Tax inspectors testified that they found evidence that Messi's father used companies in countries such as Uruguay and Switzerland to reduce tax on the player's income from image rights. Messi's father said that he was told by a legal advisor that the practice was legal. The sentence can be appealed.
Well, from that, we also bring you an international sports story which has to do with South Africa. South African judge sentenced Olympic sprinter Oscar Pistorius to 6 years in prison for his girlfriend's murder. The latest ruling in a drawn-out case that has transfixed the nation for years. Pistorius killed River Steenkamp at his home in an upscale Pretoria neighbor in the early hours of Valentine's Day 3 years ago. A killing he says was an accident after he mistook her for an intruder, but one of the prosecution called a deliberate act after the two had an argument. The same judge had originally convicted him of manslaughter in 2014 after months of hearings, but a higher court reversed that to murder last year, leading to Wednesday's sentencing. Barring an appeal, it will be the final sentencing in a saga that started when Pistorius fired 4 bullets through his bathroom door on that fateful morning in February 2013. Well, that's all we can provide for you in this edition of Sports Update on Newsa. I am Francis Bernard. And that's it, we're set to go. But now, a recap of the headlines. Sierra Leone has joined Muslims the world over to observe the Feast of Eid al-Fitr to mark the end of this year, holy month of Ramadan. Trade and investment attaché in the Embassy of the People's Republic of China has supported children of Newton, Bonga Town, and its environs with food. And the Executive Director of Maritime Administration, Alhaji Wurajalo, has unveiled plans to commence inspection of foreign vessels sailing the country's territorial waters. Well, that's all in this edition of News Hour, broadcast live on the SLPC. On behalf of my news editor, Abubakar Bangora, and Michaela Brewa, thanks for watching. Coming up next is Issues in the News.